So, welcome guys to my review of this album, Straight Outta Compton by NWA. Now, I didn't recently buy this album. I think I got it for maybe my birthday last year, around there. So, let's talk about it. This album really revolutionized hip-hop altogether. You know, this was a fresh new sound on hip-hop that no one ever heard before this. And I do think that it really just revolutionized music all by itself. So, you know, first we're going to talk about, you know, the impact it had on the world itself. Censorship during this album was really big. You know, with, you know, all the stuff they were saying on this album, you know, fuck the police. It really had a touch on society. You know, it was being banned. They couldn't perform it anywhere. But they said, you know, fuck the police. That's the whole point of the song. So I feel like we should go into the music though. This album really is a gangster rap album. The whole album is a gangster rap album without, you know, really elements of that much more like slower songs. Even though some songs are slower than others, you know. Obviously, Ain't the One isn't as fast as, you know, what's Straight Outta Compton. But it's still a gangster rap album, you know, fuck a bitch. You know, so this really gets into everything about the album. I also like that every single artist on this album has at least one song. You know, Dr. Dre has Express Yourself. MC Ren has If It Ain't Rough. Of course, Ice Cube has Ain't the One. Ice Cube doesn't have his own song, at least I don't think so. Because his presence on the album, he's really the main star of the group. You know, and you know, he really comes from that gangster apparel. You know, he sold drugs on the street, and that's how they paid for the music. You really get hints of the sampling. We're talking about the production here. So the production was made by DJ Yella and Dr. Dre, and they really, you know, brought the gangster apparel. You know, the drums, you know, were really like psh. And you know, the sampling on this is also awesome. You know, you really get that, you know, just throw things around here and there, you know, see what works. And most of the time it did work, because hip-hop was so new to sampling at this point. You know, they just, like Dr. Dre and Yella, just, you know, like threw things together. And you know, it was like a straight gamble. If the song did not have a good theme, then it wasn't gonna be good really at all. So that's why I love this album. You know, really gives you the gangster rap. This is also a benchmark in rap history. You don't really think of anything else when you think gangster rap. Yeah, there are some multiple albums and might come to mind, oh, this album or that album. But you know, this really solidified gangster rap. You know, there's not really anything like it. Also, the track list on this is very, you know, out of this world. Every single song on here is not bad. You know, the most highlights, you know, why you get this album. Of course, Straight Outta Compton, Fuck the Police, Gangster Gangster, which are the first three songs. And you know, for some albums, when you have the first songs at the start that are really, you know, like the best, you know, the singles, the rest of the album feels like it's just going on a downhill spiral. But this album has the complete opposite effect. You know, If It Ain't Rough comes right next to it. Parental Discretion is advised. You know, many themes of this album, like they're from Compton. Parental Advised really talks about, you know, everything. Compton's in the house, you know, like no one can imitate the Compton flow. Like, we are from Compton. So, you know, it does not go on a downward spiral. the first side is what I would say would be equal to the second side on this album. Ice Cube's writings and lyricism on here is also pretty great. He wrote everything for Eazy-E. I don't know about Dr. Dre. I think Yella wrote his own stuff too. But you know, Ice Cube is one of the best rappers of all time, because you know he like literally like ghostwrited for most of the people on this album. And when he left the group, it was really like the sloppy seconds of Ice Cube. You know, it would say, I have here NWA, 100 Miles Running, post Ice Cube, and it doesn't really feel the same. They even sample Fuck the Police, which feels like, are you still in that Ice Cube era, or are you done with it? So you know, I also think that Ice Cube had a big presence on this album. Same with Dr. Dre. You know, his legacy is still cemented to be forever one of the great producers of all time. I would put him up there with the Pharrell Williams, with the Metro. You know, no, I would put Pharrell Williams up there with Dr. Dre. You know, he's really the producer. I would get why most ants from MFR podcast, the 2001 is favorite album, because it is the best produced rap album. There's no debating that. And that's mostly it. The short passing of Eazy-E really felt bad, but also I felt like, where else was he supposed to go? Unless Ice Cube, after they became friends again, were continued to write most of his raps, then yeah, maybe he would go. Be great if he did not die. But I still feel like we wouldn't really get Eazy-E. You know, most of the things he found as a loss on here, you know, just talking about, you know, getting your dick sucked, and most of the time, you know, you're the gangster apparel dick. I'm a gangster. But you know, that was the whole theme of the first album. So you know, like with a mixtape like this, you really feel like, I already heard this, I want something new from you guys. Which is really a shame they never had, you know, like a second album with the whole gang there. To end things off, I would give this album a light 8. You know, I wouldn't consider it one of the greatest albums of all time, but as in one of the greatest rap, hip-hop albums of all time, greatest produced albums of all time, it's definitely up there. Transgender, what do you guys think about this album? I'm trying to make this into a series where I review every single album I have, as in a physical form, like this vinyl or a CD. So make sure you like, subscribe. See you guys in the next